welcome to Allot 360 Analysts and Expert. I'm Michael Schachter, and I'm here today with Jarad Carleton from Frost Sullivan, a Principal Analyst in Cybersecurity, and we're with Arthur Zavalkovsky, AVP Product Management at Allot.
Hey, Michael.
So Jarad, let me ask you a sort of an opening question. How aware are enterprises around the world to having an IoT security issue at all?
A lot of enterprises are just waking up to the threat, and because of that, they're scrambling to try and figure out what they need to do to properly protect some of the devices that are connected to the network today.
And I mean, a lot of these connections are mobile, so you've got these remote devices that are online and they're using SIM cards to access to the CSP. Will enterprises turn to the CSP to provide that kind of a security solution?
Well, there's different solutions on the market today, but the thing about the CSP is they have a lot of insight into what's going on the network, and they have more ability, more power to be able to help secure the network and potentially shut down malicious traffic or traffic that's happening when an IoT device starts behaving in a way that it's not supposed to be behaving.
Okay. So, Arthur, let me take that to you. I mean, enterprise IoT is tricky, and there are all kinds of devices. How do you see, or why would they, in fact, turn to the service provider that's not known as a security company per se for their solution?
So enterprises are working with service providers in order to achieve connectivity for their SIM-enabled IoT devices. At the same time, they understand that connectivity must be secure because nobody wants to connect a business-critical device over open, non-secure internet. At the same time, for service providers, as Gerald said, it opens up a huge opportunity to provide additional services on top of connectivity. Not just secure connectivity, but also visibility and control for the enterprises over the remote devices.
So there's a need for securing this IoT connectivity, and there are, I don't know, VPNs, AVNs out there. What's different about the Allot IoT Secure offering?
Allot IoT Secure offering is provided from the network, and it's deployed within the core network, and the main difference between APN and VPN, between our solution provided from the network and secure infrastructure solution is the cost. It's the cost for service provider. It's the ability to provide the same level of security, not just for large enterprise who can pay for APN and VPN, but also for any small SMB with 100 devices. The solution is provided from the network by the same box, and it's easily scalable.
And so if we look at this network-based solution, what becomes the business model for the service provider? How much or how can they turn this extra feature into revenue with their enterprise customers?
So this, from service provider perspective, the IoT Secure can be yet another service which they sell to the IoT enterprise customers. Depending on which services they have today, they can upsell it on top of it. Like if they sell only connectivity, then it should be secure connectivity with visibility and control of it. On top of it, if they sell connected car service, then obviously security for connected cars is much more important than for smart metering. So the additional price which they can charge the customer is much higher. So the IoT Secure is just upsell on top of existing service.
One of the things Jarad mentioned was that IoT devices start misbehaving, and that's something that the solution presumably can detect. Right. What are the different types of malicious behavior that can be detected, and then how do you stop it or deal with it?
Our solution has three main components. The first component is security. You should stop malware from being downloaded to the IoT device. You should identify devices which behave like a bot, like trying to connect command and control devices or trying to infect other devices. You should stop DDoS attacks coming from the IoT devices. This is the security piece. The second piece is what we call behavior assurance. IoT devices are built for purpose, and then in many cases, enterprise can define simple rules which describe IoT device behavior. A vending machine of Coca-Cola should talk only to backend of Coca-Cola and not to backend of Pepsi-Cola. And the only elements, only nodes who can access smart metering is operational company and not anybody else. So these rules can be defined on our system by what we call behavior assurance module. And if you know how a device should behave, you should enforce this behavior upfront. The last piece is anomaly detection, is behavior profiling and anomaly detection. It's not always possible to define every element of IoT device behavior profile by using rules. So the system starts, once device is connected, the system starts monitoring device behavior, building a multi-dimensional baseline, looking at many different parameters, starting from amount of bandwidth utilized by a device, up to number of remote destinations device tries to connect, etc., etc., etc. And once the baseline is built, we can identify abnormal behavior of the devices by comparing the current behavior with the historical behavior of the same device and with historical behavior of the group this device belongs to. It's important to remember that not always abnormal behavior of IoT device is caused by an infection. In many cases, it might be a bug, it might be some malfunctioning module within the device. So identifying abnormal behavior is a critical piece of our solution.
This is something that Michael and I had talked about earlier in another session where I'd done some research and we'd learned about an issue with cars connecting to the mobile network. And there was a bug, and all of a sudden there was a lot more traffic going over the mobile network, and it was jamming up the bandwidth in certain parts of town, and they had to figure out what was going on so that it didn't eventually bring down the network in that area. So,
right, absolutely. Yes. We heard it, that's a year ago. The Jasper cloud was compromised, was put down because some of the devices start sending too much information there. And another example is that related to connected cars, if you mentioned this topic, is that within the connected cars there are two types of connections. One is to the control system, which is secured but needs to be yet monitored. It's a critical one. And another one is infotainment system, which actually creates two important opportunities for service providers. First of all, infotainment channel can be compromised from security perspective. And the second point, infotainment channel opens a new opportunity for additional revenue for service providers, starting from controlling content and implementing kind of parental control within the car, and going to selling certain content, becoming a content provider to connected cars.
So, Arthur, you mentioned that in addition to sort of the security side, there's also kind of an IoT device management capability. Can you tell us a little bit more about how that works? So far we talked about challenges of enterprises. In addition, service providers have some inherited challenges related to IoT devices. And the main ones are related to the fact that each IoT device behaves differently. If you compare it to the human subscribers, and every mobile phone has the same kind of throughput and same traffic parameters, etc. Each IoT device can work in a completely different manner. And this creates a huge challenge for service providers just because they are not ready yet to be able to monitor network behavior within IoT networks and understand when a devices start behaving wrongly. And also, it creates a challenge with network planning, because in order to
implement efficient planning session, you need to understand the baseline of your current load. With our solution, we provide full visibility and analytics for the service provider, which allows them to effectively identify anomalies, troubleshoot the network, and obviously do the planning. This is one piece. The other piece of the solution is that we help them with the security issues, because IoT devices might be compromised, and then they can carry out an attack on service provider's network. And even in case of Mirai, when DYN service was attacked, a lot of bandwidth went through the service provider's network.
Right.
So with this visibility solution and with our traffic management capability, service providers can feel comfortable with adding more and more IoT devices to their network, because they will be able to troubleshoot and plan.
So I want to thank you, Jarad and Arthur, for spending some time on IoT with me. This ends this Allot 360 session, and we'll see you at the next Allot 360.